Every year in Football Manager, I do a video where I sim into the future. We hop in a time machine and we see what happens. And I was going to do that this year for 100 years, and then like 5 different creators did that video. So I decided to keep going. And it's now the year 2072. We are 250 years in the future. One sec. Hello? Yeah, 250 years. That's what I'm doing. Tom FM did this video yesterday. Look, I've left the game running for the last 10 days. I've got energy bills to pay. I'm making this video. Like, I've actually loaded the leagues. My leagues aren't view only, so the simulation is in detail. Have I at least got that USP? I have. Oh, well, we'll take that then. Yeah. Cheers. Bye. I'm going to go record the... Am I allowed to record the video now? I am allowed to record the video now. Thank you. That's great. Okay. Yeah, cheers. Bye. So here we are in game. It is the year 2072. My manager is stuck at 100 years old, and I've been employed for this entire time. My manager timeline looks really interesting. My parents are very proud of me. Now for this video, I am going to be focusing on the leagues that I have loaded here. It's worth noting I've got all these leagues loaded as playable. That means they've been simmed in full detail. As a result, it does take me a little bit longer to holiday into the future. But you can see here, we're going to look through the top 5 European leagues. There will be a link to the save game down in the description. So if you want to download it, dig through it. Maybe you bought some stuff during this video that I miss. Let me know it down in the comments. I feel like with Football Manager save games, they're infinitely deep. I only have 2 eyes, so when I'm going through screens looking at things, I probably will miss a thing or two. Still not bought FM23? I've got some good news for you. I've teamed up with Sega-approved retailer Fanatical to get you an amazing deal on the game that is 29% cheaper than on Steam. Check out the link in the description to find out more info. And well, I think the most logical place to start is the Premier League, where, well, lots of the big teams are still here. Peterborough have won the Premier League, though. Yeah, that's right. Peterborough have won the Premier League. How are we here? How have they done this? Well, I'll be honest, it's their first time winning the Premier League. Prior to this season, they've not even finished in the top 4, and yet somehow they've managed to win the Premier League. They also lost the FA Cup final. Looking at the Premier League table, Southampton, Oldham, Lincoln, all teams relegated. Oldham and Lincoln between them got 3 wins in 38 games each. That's actually awful, isn't it? So Lincoln, after 20 years in the Championship, were promoted. They're playing at the Keith Alexander Park, which I adore. They've got a 71,000-seater stadium. I'm so confused. Now, I will say, they have been getting 71,000 fans to each and every game, which in itself is a bit of a miracle, because this season, how many games did they win? If you include pre-season friendlies, they won 3 games this year. They beat Maidstone in the FA Cup, Oldham 3-0, and they lost every single other game. I've not checked the full simulation. It must be the worst Premier League season ever. They've got 3 points. I realise we've got very fixated on Lincoln. Oldham have become a yo-yo club. Of course, they start down in the Vanarama National League at the start of a save game. I mean, they are the new Norwich City, aren't they, over the last 15 years? They've gone up, they've gone down, they've got no manager, and, well, they've finished 19th. They've probably had the second worst season ever. They got 9 points and didn't finish bottom. Towards the top of the Premier League table, I've acknowledged the fact that Peterborough have won the league. Swansea, West Brom, Blackburn, the other teams in the top 4, and behind them, Crystal Palace. Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, Tottenham, Man City, all still in the Premier League. Where are Liverpool? I'll tell you where they are. They are in the Championship, and they're in 8th place. They finished behind Norwich, Altrincham, Hereford, Southend and Charlton. I don't like this timeline already. This is cursed. And of course, we will just have a flick through the other leagues in England, spot the teams that have risen, spot the teams that have fallen, who's in League 2, who's in League 1. Dorking have been relegated, Bournemouth finished 3rd, Farnborough, Slough, not iconic names of the English Football League. I don't want to say this too loudly. League 2 kind of looks normal. There's no one weird in League 2. I guess Millwall and Preston, but I mean, 250 years, it's not the weirdest thing. Just looking at the National League, it doesn't seem like any of the giant kind of Premier League clubs have completely fallen off. Obviously, Liverpool dropping down slightly less than ideal. I'm looking through the National League here, and with the leagues obviously fully loaded, sim detail cranked up to the max, it's not that weird yet. Now, of course, we've only looked at the current season. Here is a look back on the previous Premier League champions over the years. Apparently, Blackburn have been quite good in this simulation. They won, well, 4 Premier League titles in 6 years. Arsenal and Chelsea shared the spoils for a period of time. Tottenham won the league 3 times. Tottenham fans, celebrate that. 2035. That's not how the years work. 2,235. You're going to have to wait for. Every year you win the league, Arsenal are going to finish second. I hope that feels good. Elsewhere, Manchester United winning the league. Arsenal, Watford winning the league on a couple of occasions. I say a couple of occasions. Watford have just won it a load. So have Everton, so have Tottenham. You know what? I take it back, Tottenham fans. You're not going to have to wait that long because you're going to have a really long spell in the 2190s. So your great-great-great-granddaughter, she's going to have a pretty good time, it turns out, supporting Tottenham. Elsewhere, Crystal Palace winning the league. Of course, we're going back quite a long way here. So as I scroll through, you're going to see some weird and wonderful names. Watford won the league in 2139. Liverpool last won the Premier League before they got relegated. 140 years ago now, a little while ago. It doesn't look like things got too weird for 100 years. West Ham winning the league, I suppose, might be considered odd. Burnley won the league in 2082-83. Where are they now? They're now in the Vanarama National League. Okay, I take it back. Burnley have definitely had a fall from grace. Beyond that, it looks like the first kind of weird winner, I hate to use that term, but kind of unexpected winner of the Premier League was Crystal Palace in 2055-56. They won it, and then they never reappeared in the kind of runner-up or third place finishes ever. So, Crystal Palace, enjoy the glory years. I say that, they're back up in 5th now. They've been a stable Premier League team for many years. You know what? Being a Crystal Palace fan in the future, it might not be that bad. I can confirm Lincoln do hold the record for fewest points in a season. They got 3 points. It took 250 years for them to set the record. It's not been great, has it? They've lost 37 games out of 38. Now, Arsenal set the highest average attendance. Their stadium holds 121,000 fans. That is mad. Arsenal have the highest average attendance. Man City have had the highest peak attendance. They have a stadium that holds 133,000 fans. And even in the year 2272, they can't fill their ground. Okay, I'll admit it, Man City fans, that was petty of me. Shall we move on to Liga? Just as a little reminder, save game is down in the description. So if you want to download it, maybe check out the FA Cup winners, report back your findings. I'd love to see it. Naturally, for a video like this, I can't look at everything. Save games are rather large. I don't want this video to be an hour long. PSG, still near the top. Bit annoying, but Montpellier beat them this year. Shout out to Montpellier, who themselves were predicted to finish top. They do look like a rather good team. How many times have they won the competition over the years? Well, we'll go on to the Champions League shortly. They've won it a lot. They've won Liga on 33 occasions. That said, PSG have won it on 122 occasions. I hate the fact that even 250 years in the future, they're still a bit of a force. So just taking a gander through the past winners, I've had a look through this a little bit. Montpellier, Marseille and PSG in recent years have controlled things. Nîmes and Lorient had kind of little spells of dominance here and there. I feel like in real life, the French league is one where teams kind of go through spells. Lyon had a kind of period where they were just the best team in the country. They won 7 in a row, obviously. Now it's PSG's era. It's hard to see a world where PSG aren't dominant for the foreseeable future, but it's nice to see that teams like Lorient in this simulation had their own little spells of dominance. I mean, they won the league here, I think, 15 years in a row. They are the new PSG. Sorry, Lorient. You are now the baddies. We will come on to the Champions League shortly, where we will acknowledge the fact Lorient have won 8. You can see here they have won 40 Ligue 1 titles. That's not too bad. Current reigning champions Montpellier, they've won it 33 times. But sadly, neither can compete with PSG, who have won Liga on 122 occasions. That just makes me feel sad. In the initial years of the simulation, PSG were just the best team by a mile. There was a period where Nice, Rennes, Lille, they all came in and won a few. Nîmes managed to win 3 in a row. Where are Nîmes now? They've been relegated. They've got 5-star youth recruitment. They've been relegated. They've been playing in Ligue 2 for a decade. First 100 years, very nice for this club. Didn't win a Champions League, but runner-up 4 times. Now, they're down in the 2nd division. Moving on over to Germany, Bayern Munich. they're quite good. They finished second in the 250th season of the simulation. Just looking at kind of the timeline of events that got us here, Bayern won a lot. Occasionally teams came in and ruined their spell of dominance. Dortmund, Hoffenheim, Hertha Berlin, I noticed Leipzig there. Fürth won it a couple of times in the kind of late 2070s. They've come back to be a force as of late. But besides, well, Hoffenheim occasionally providing a bit of opposition, Bayern Munich are just really, really good in Football Manager. I mean, Hoffenheim became the new Bayern Munich, I suppose, in the 2150s, and then Leipzig had a run. But the sad reality is, the status quo has kind of been resumed in recent years. Fürth had a spell. I mean, they've had a few spells, actually, looking at it. But Union Berlin, the heroes to this story, they've won the last 3 Bundesligas in a row. And, well, to be fair, looking at their league history, they have just been consistently a Champions League club over the years. Union Berlin, current holders, they've won the Bundesliga on 8 occasions. Hoffenheim, they've won it on 47 occasions. They were a really dominant team in the simulation, although they are down in 13th now. Sadly, however, if you were looking for radical change in Germany, Bayern Munich are still quite good. They finished second the most recent year, and if we look at their competition history, they've won the Bundesliga on 126 occasions. Over in Italy, you'd be mistaken for thinking this is year 1 of the simulation. Juve have won the league, Inter and AC Milan have come second and third respectively, and Roma have been relegated. Okay, maybe that most recent one isn't something you'd expect to see happen first season, but yeah, Roma leaving Serie A this year. As for Juve, predicted to win the league, did win the league. How many times have they won the league? 139 times. I'm just having a scroll through the kind of Italian history here, right? Looking for something interesting that's happened. Yeah, Napoli have won it. AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juve have won it. Roma won it a few times before they got relegated this year. I'm going to level with you, Italy. Very boring for the next 250 years. No one of note kind of arrives out of nowhere and wins it. There is no surprises. And, well, Inter won it 20 years in a row, and now Juve have won the league 10 years in a row. I'm not going to be following Italian football 250 years in the future, although that might be because I'll be dead. And on that delightful note, shall we take a look at Spain, where Real Madrid have won the league, Atletico Madrid have finished second, Barcelona not been liquidated. Congratulations, Barcelona fans. You're in 4th. Much like Italy, it doesn't look like a great deal has changed in Spain. You can see all the teams competing here. There are a few teams that I don't recognise. Naturally, there are probably some large teams that have actually been relegated that I've just failed to notice in these simulations. So again, if I've missed them, leave them down in the comments. So looking at the past winners in La Liga, Real Madrid dominated the initial simulation. In the first kind of 50 years, they were just the ever-present team. From there, Sevilla and Atleti kind of emerged and won a few. Villarreal then had a spell where they won 4 La Ligas in a row in the early 2100s. But from there, it's Real Madrid's universe, and we're all kind of just living in it. Barcelona had the odd appearance here and there, but it goes without saying as I scroll through this, there is more Real Madrid than anyone else. I mean, look at this. If I scroll to this point on the screen, there is literally only Real Madrid in the winners column on the left-hand side. Just checked, they actually won the Liga 30 years in a row. From there, though, good news, Celta Vigo, they won the league, so shout out to Celta Vigo. As of late, they've not really achieved a great deal, but there was a few years where they were at the very top. Espanyol also managed to win the league in 2032. That feels like a weird year to say it aloud. They then finished runner-up 4 years in a row, and then they're able to win it once more before fading back into obscurity, where Real Madrid are still just winning it all. Of all the leagues that we simulated, Spain was the most one-club league. Real Madrid now have 172 La Liga titles to their name. So taking a look at the Champions League final in a 250 years' time will be Blackburn v Montpellier. What a beautiful sight. Worth noting that hasn't actually been played yet. With this video, we are simming into the future. I have yearly autosaves on, but every time there's a leap year, the date that you save the game yearly moves kind of closer a year. And because we've gone forward so many years, having started autosaving in June, it's now autosaving at the end of May. So Real Madrid do hold the record for most Champions Leagues won. They have won 22 in their history. That's not as dominant as I thought it might be based off how dominant they were in Spain itself. They do have the highest average of attendance of 140,000 fans. The highest attendance was by PAOK in Greece, where apparently 146,000 fans turned up for their game in a neutral venue against Arsenal. Now, unfortunately, I can't go and tell you exactly what happened in that final, because it happened 14,000 days ago. But Arsenal won the game 1-0. They had 117,000 away fans, and the game itself, the final, took place in Bulgaria. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jack. Why was Bulgaria loaded when you did your simulation? The reason I loaded Bulgaria is because it gives me a start date in June, which is useful for when doing these kind of simulations. So for the Bulgarian football fans out there, just because I know you're going to be wondering, what's going on in Bulgarian football? Etar won the league. I have no idea if this is a shock or not. Bulgarian football experts, let me know. Just circling back to our initial point, the Champions League. Here are the past winners. And well, as a Liverpool fan who's a bit sad we're in the Championship, at least I know that we're going to win 3 Champions Leagues in a row in the next 4 or 5 years. That's something to look forward to. Beyond that, you can see Newcastle won their Champions League for the first time in 2034. PSG didn't have too long to wait. According to the simulation, Man City will win a Champions League after Newcastle. If that happens in real life, that will be one hell of a prediction by the game. As we scroll through here, nothing too weird going on initially. I feel like English clubs in Football Manager are always just quite good in these kind of simulations because they have lots of money. Bayer Leverkusen winning the Champions League is cool to see. Beyond that, kind of usual suspects until Burnley win the Champions League in 2068. Burnley really did have a good few years, didn't they? I'll tell you what, Burnley didn't win the Champions League once. How many times did they win the Champions League? I need to know. They won the Champions League 4 times, finished runners-up 6 times, and now they're in the National League. I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a rebuild save game, this Burnley save, you will have to put up with the slow loading times. It'd be a great rebuilding a giant save, wouldn't it? Can someone let Football Manager YouTubers in kind of 200 years' time know that if they want to do a top 5 teams to rebuild, Burnley's a good choice? So beyond the Burnley years, as we scroll through here, Bayern Munich had a little spell of dominance. Hoffenheim, Lyon, all getting involved in it. No real shocks until PAOK in Greece win it in 2116, where they beat Lorient in the final. That is the first team outside of our loaded leagues that won the Champions League. I'm wondering if there was any more as we go through here. I'm scrolling through. Hoffenheim, Newcastle winning a fair few, to be fair. Watford winning the Champions League in 2160. Midtjylland doing things. Denmark, party. You're very good. You've got -1 social media followers, though. And after Midtjylland's dominance, they inspired another Scandinavian club, Molde, pop up on this list, beating Fenerbahce in the final. SJK in Finland lost to Man City the year before as well. All the Nordic countries do quite well in 150 years' time. As we move into the last 100 years, things get even weirder. Fenerbahce, Sparta Prague all winning, and then beyond there, it gets a bit more normal before Molde pop up again, because of course Molde pop up again. They beat Helsinki in the final. So I don't know what's happened here, but it turns out that we need to fear the Nordic nations. Copenhagen win 2 as well. Valur in Iceland win a Champions League in 2046. In fact, they won 2, and then Hammarby in Sweden win it. Who is this team as well? They've won it twice. I don't know this team. A Slovakian team are going to win the Champions League twice. I wonder why after 200 years, all these teams in nations that I don't have loaded just suddenly started doing well. Good news is, for us, top league faithful, Blackburn are going to come out on top for a number of years in a row, and Union Berlin won it most recently, beating Watford in the final. Also, who is WSG Tyrol? They lost a final. An Austrian team. I'm a little bit confused by all these teams outside of loaded leagues within 200 years suddenly doing a load of stuff. I think I also kind of like the idea that the Nordic nations just take over football for a period. I am a little conscious of the fact that this video is already a little on the longer side, so when it comes to the Europa League and Conference League, I'm going to scroll through things here. Hopefully you can spot some weird and wonderful things. I feel like with the Europa League and Conference League from previous years of doing these kind of simulations, things get weirder sooner here. There are a load of teams that I don't even really recognise. So if you're from one of these nations, maybe I don't know who Levski are. I think they're Bulgarian. But if you know these teams and I just don't, or you spot anything particularly bizarre, let me know. I think Selena are from Bosnia and Herzegovina. They're Slovak. Moving on. I will just continue to scroll away. Lots of weird and wonderful teams. Nothing really makes any sense. West Brom up here. And most recently, HJK, the Finnish team, with a bank balance of £500 million and a value of £2 billion. they're doing quite well. I'm now realising that all the teams I was looking at before just have hundreds of millions of pounds in the bank. I'll tell you what, if you wanted to add these leagues as playable, I bet you could have some fun save games just going mental trying to build a nation. So I think we've got to the bottom of why all these random clubs are doing quite well. Because they're not in loaded leagues, something weird is going on with their finances. Of course, the game's in the beta period. You're probably not meant to be playing a Football Manager save game 200 years into the future. Equally, I'm now wondering, if I was to add and remove leagues and make those leagues playable, you could have some mad fun in like a weird and wacky 200 year in the future save game. Of course, I am still just scrolling through things here, so if you spot anything weird, let me know. Manchester United winning something in European football. Weird. I'm gonna report that as a bug on the forums. Elsewhere, Swansea on a few occasions popping up, actually. Burnley are everywhere. They won the Conference League. Who won the Conference League in the very first year? It was... you can't see it. My head's in the way. Editing Jack, move my head across. It was West Ham, everyone. So congratulations to West Ham fans. Having a look at the World Cup, England are the reigning champions. I feel like I should go change my shirt and put on an England kit. Before that, China won the World Cup. Who have China got in their team to win a World Cup? Who is their best player? Bo He. He's a leader. He's not very good, is he? I mean, to be fair, yeah, I was going to try and defend him. No, he's just not very good. I'm looking through their players. No idea how they won a World Cup, but they did win one, and they finished runner-up 2 years ago as well. Other World Cup winners include Bulgaria on 2 occasions. In fact, no, more than 2 occasions. They won 3 in a row. I feel like because I've left Bulgaria loaded, they've become a powerhouse. Prior to that, Wales winning a World Cup. England have won a few, but England are just overpowered in Football Manager. We'll just ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. Their prediction for the 2022 World Cup, England are going to beat Brazil in the final. I'd be okay with that. One of the reasons I am focusing more on the European side of things is just because that's where I've got the leagues loaded. Of course, all the other leagues and stuff just haven't been simulated in detail to the same extent. As for the Euros, you might be wondering what's going on there. Well, good news, Bulgaria did manage to win a European Football Championship as well. So have Slovenia. There's a few weird nations in there. Denmark, I suppose, isn't the weirdest. Bulgaria, because they're loaded, have done quite well. The Netherlands won Euro 2024. Croatia won 2036. Fair play. You know what, Croatia? You're going to lose Modric in the next year or two. You're going to rebuild and come back stronger. Portugal also doing pretty well in this simulation. Denmark also popping up too on a couple of occasions. No super weird things. I guess Slovenia is probably the weirdest of the bunch. And you know what? I always feel like a nice way to end these videos where we deep dive into the future is just to look at who the best player in the world is in the current simulation. And that is this man, Alan Pallier. He's quite good, isn't he? Either-footed striker, playing for Montpellier. You can see why Montpellier are doing quite well in France with this guy at the helm. He is ridiculous. Anyway, folks, I am going to leave things there for today. I'll leave you with the lovely sight of Lincoln at the bottom of the Premier League on 3 points. What an awful year for Alderman Lincoln. What a lovely video, though. I hope you've enjoyed it. As with these kind of videos, I could spend hours looking over all the nitty-gritty details, but if you want to do that, you can just download the save game yourself. I'd love it if people reported on their findings. If you have a poke around and find weird and wonderful things, let me know about them in the comments. Hope you've enjoyed this one. We will be back whenever my laptop gets to 500 years in the future. It'll probably be a few weeks, a few months maybe even. Hopefully I can continue to pay my energy bills in the meantime. If you have enjoyed today's video, do drop a like on it. I'll see you again for more Football Manager action soon, and until then, take it easy. It's me, Jack. I'll talk to you in a bit. I'm out.